Okay, this is Chuck King Jr. interviewing Pamela Roberts King in Murfreesboro, Tennessee on 4 April 2025. Okay, Pam King, how are you?
I'm just great.
I want to try to get this in, start out in sort of a chronological order. So
Okay.
I'm interested in where you were born
I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
and how did your people end up in Detroit? Were were your parents from Detroit?
No, my parents were both from Illinois. My dad left. His mother had 7 children, and his dad had died, and he was a teenager, and he left to keep his mother from having another mouth to feed. My mother moved to Detroit from Illinois. Different towns, and I don't remember what towns, but anyway, her parents moved, and so they were in Detroit, both of them.
What was in Detroit that caused?
I
Why
don't-
didn't they go to Chicago or something?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't know. They both just ended up in Detroit.
It's interesting. And about what time? What year do you think was that?
Well, my dad was in his late teens. They were both born in 1919,
Oh wow.
so it was less than 20 years when they were in Detroit.
Okay, so it's interesting. I like to go back and see what was happening because, like, on my side of the family, there was a lot of people in East Peoria because Caterpillar was like if you could breathe and bend over and you could, either weld or mop or whatever, you could get a job there, right? So people from all over drove up there to get a job from Kentucky and Tennessee, and so there must have been some draw, maybe autos or something in Detroit.
I don't know that, but I do know that my mother went to Wesleyan College.
In Detroit?
No, that was back in Illinois.
Oh,
So she graduated from college, and I don't know why they moved. I don't know why they went to Michigan.
and what was your mom's name? I can never figure out like who was who between your fake moms and your fake aunts and your adopted aunts and your
My
real
mother's
mom.
name was Betty Lou, Bettelu, Betty Louise, but they just shortened it to Betty Lou. Watchins, Watchins. However, she found out, I don't know when, she found out that her actual name was Wachinski.
Oh,
Yeah, but she never used it. She used Watchins. And
is that like when they immigrated, they made them switch their name? To
No,
Americanized?
they did. My grandfather and his brothers, and there were like 12 siblings in that family, in my grandfather's family. The sons, the brothers, didn't want it to sound Polish, so they were German. They were German Polish, but they didn't want to sound Polish, so they took my grandfather, not all of them, because one of his brothers, Uncle John, who lived in Illinois and had a photography studio, he went by Wachinski. I guess it was just my grandfather. My dad, I don't know why he went to Michigan. He went alone as a late teenager to help his mother, to get a job, and he could send money home to his mother, whose husband had died and had 7 kids to take care of.
Good Lord. And so you went to school. Do you remember any? What's your earliest memory?
I went to
Not just school, but of anything.
we lived in Detroit on Evergreen Road, and then my brother was born in 1946, and we bought a house in Livonia, Michigan, and lived there. And I went to Walter I don't remember the name of the school, but an elementary school that we walked to. It was down the road close. Stayed there until I was in junior high, and I was about 12, 13 years old, junior high. And my dad got a job in California, and he said, do you guys want to move to California? And of course, yay, we're going to California. So we moved to California, and we moved to Torrance, lived there for a while, and bought a house in Anaheim and lived there until after I was married.
And so your dad is the white-haired guy, right?
Yeah.
What was his name?
William Roberts.
And
William Chapman Roberts the fourth.
did he go to college?
No.
He was like wicked smart.
Yes, he was. He was
Manufacturing or something.
pretty much self-taught. He just had to do it. Whatever he did, he just made up his mind he had to do it, I guess. He took flying lessons. He had a pilot's license.
And so he taught himself to do all that machinery and
I don't know.
super complicated lathes and
Probably got jobs in places and learned from the jobs and got, yeah.
machinist. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, right.
Because, I mean, he had super complicated machinist stuff.
He did.
Back when it wasn't all the rage. It was like highly complex compared to what everybody else was doing.
Yeah, he sure did.
I do remember going to his shop and thinking, oh my God, this is like the Starship Enterprise or something,
Well, my dad was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But,
And then he showed us a couple of like big aluminum things that they made for airplane brakes or landing gears or something like that. That was like bigger than a basketball that came out of a big old giant chunk of aluminum, but it had all these different pieces and parts and angles and slots drilled in it and all that. And I was like, good Lord.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
So
Hold on a minute.
So going back to Detroit, do you remember anything about? So was it you in the same house until 7th grade, or?
No, we moved from from Evergreen to a house in Walteria. No, that's California. To a house in Livonia, Michigan, where they bought the house.
Oh.
And we lived there, and my brother was very little when we moved there, and we lived there until I was in 7th grade, and then we moved to California, and then we moved to Walteria.
And how much younger is your brother than you?
6 years.
And how much older is Nancy?
I'm older than both of them.
Oh,
I'm
you're
2.5
older. You're the oldest. You're the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And
2.5 years older than Nancy.
And 6 years older than Chappie, but his name was William also, right?
The 5th. William Chapman Roberts the 5th.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sidetrack. When I was a kid, I always thought he was so friggin' cool.
Oh, he was.
Because he would drive around, pull up, with his cool ass jeans and his Porsche 911, and his whatever girlfriend he had at the time,
He had his 2 children that he got custody of, because when he and his wife split up, the kids both went with him. So he had 2 vehicles. He had the Porsche to go back and forth to work, or a motorcycle, and then he had another car, whatever that was.
So they could haul his kids around safely or whatever. Yeah, because you weren't getting more than one other person in that Porsche.
Oh, no, I know. Do you remember him one time you were so sick because you had been drinking? And you slept
Wait, this ain't about me.
No, I know. You slept in the back of his car and you threw up out the door of his car. That's all I remember. I don't remember any other circumstance to it at all.
Wow, I don't remember that at
Yeah,
all.
I do. You threw up in my front yard.
Of his Porsche or the other car?
No, another car.
Oh.
Yeah. No, not his Porsche. You're still alive, aren't you? Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, funny.
You don't remember anything about your teachers or your school or anything in the neighborhood or whatever when you were in up to 7th grade, or
I don't.
no?
I don't.
And then, didn't you tell me you had some friends from ever, or that was from high school?
Yeah.
So then you moved to Anaheim, California.
We moved to Torrance, California
Torrance.
first, while Cherry was a little community at the foot of Palos Verdes Estates, Palos Verdes Hills.
Wait, is that the one that just got flooded out or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh. Or fired out or whatever?
Burned, yeah. We moved, I was in 9th grade, I think. We only lived like 2 years in Torrance and then at Cherry, and then we moved to Anaheim. And my parents bought a house. $16,750 they paid for a house. And we lived there. I went all through school, graduated from Anaheim High School. And I loved high school.
You did?
I did.
Because what?
Just because I had a lot of friends and social life and so forth. And I met my husband.
In high school?
I was in high school. He was in college. We had a sock hop. And my girlfriend...
Just like the Happy Days or
Yeah,
whatever?
just like Happy Days. Bootsy, my friend Bootsy and I went to...
Bootsy like Happy Days?
Yeah. No, I don't think it was a Bootsy in Happy Days. But Bootsy.
But was that her real
Barr.
name? Or? Oh,
Yeah, her name was Ellen Louise Barr. No, it was Ellen Louise Colby. Anyway, Boots and I went to the sock hop. And we met these two guys there. And she met Jim, and I met somebody else. I don't remember his name. We went out on a date.
Wait, the sock hop was at your high school?
Yeah, Anaheim High School.
And people that were not in high school that were allowed to go to the sock hop?
They went, because that's where we met them. Yeah.
Allowed or not?
But we went out a couple weeks later or something, and I was a senior, and we were both seniors. And we went to the drive-in, and I thought this guy I was with, Al somebody, I thought he was a real geek. And Boots thought...
I hope he's not alive.
Bootsy thought my boyfriend was a geek. So they got out of the car to go get something from the refreshment stand, and we switched seats.
Oh, but you guys like the other one?
Yeah,
Each liked the
yeah.
other one?
So, and I started going with Jim, and that's who I ended up marrying a couple years later. I was a senior in high school when Jim and I got married.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he had a job. Oh, no, he was going to college.
No, he had been in the Navy, and he got out of the Navy, and he was working.
Oh.
He just came home from being in... He was in Key West, Florida for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like the premiere.
Yeah.
And so, you remember anything else about high school besides having that one friend going?
I love to go to all the football games, and to this day I don't know anything about football. But I just went because everybody else went, and you jump up and down and yell hooray and run and whatever. Yeah.
And a lot of outdoor stuff. That's why I think a lot of people in California liked high school because there was so many things outdoors that people would do in school and whatever, like track and I mean, all year round almost you could do something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And
but I was in my senior year when I got married.
Yeah. So
and we lived in a little.
There went your freedom, huh?
Yeah. No, not then. Not till a little bit later. But yeah, we lived in a 1-bedroom furnished apartment for $55 a month with utilities paid. I remember that.
And was furnished meaning like everything, like
all the furniture,
the sheets and the plates and all that?
No, probably not. Probably dishes and stuff. But I mean, couch and bed and refrigerator and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Because I remember, I'm asking because my dad stayed in some places early on that was by the week and it was furnished, and he said there was everything there, like 3 forks and 3 plates and a set of sheets, and you could actually just take your clothes and walk out.
Wow.
And rent a place across the street or something on every Friday or whatever if it was open.
When I met your dad, he was living in an apartment with some guys that he worked with at a gas station. And I met him at the gas station. He's going to fix my car.
and me, David, and Joey were somewhere with my mom in an apartment.
Yep.
And do you know where we were? We skipped a couple of years. We'll go back, but do you know
You were in an
what
apartment.
town we were in? Or
You were
anything?
wherever we lived. You were not far away.
Which was where?
Garden Grove, Anaheim.
Oh.
I couldn't tell you where you lived exactly, but you
Yeah.
were. Yeah. Because I didn't ever go there. Your dad would go get the kids, and come to the house.
Yeah. And you were living in the house that you and your ex-husband had lived in? Or?
No, we were. I had moved to an apartment.
Oh.
Yeah.
And let's go back to when you got married. Where'd you go? Did you move somewhere?
Anaheim.
You stayed in and
Stayed
you
in
lived in
Anaheim.
Anaheim and you stayed in Anaheim.
Yep.
And went to school in Anaheim.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
and what did your husband do?
The first job I remember him having, he worked for a potato company. He drove a truck and delivered pre-prepared potatoes to restaurants and stuff.
Oh. Like already peeled or something?
Yeah.
And did you work as any kind of job? Or
No, I didn't. I did get a job one time, and I worked at Arthur Murray Dance Studio, calling people, telling them they had they won a contest and they would get a free dance lesson. And the guy got rude with me, and I just turned around and walked out and went home.
Arthur Murray, that's a famous name, right? Mm-hmm. Arthur Murray.
Arthur Murray, yeah.
And so, and then you had Jim or Jamie.
And Jim Jr. Yeah,
Jim
Jamie.
Jr., so you called him Jamie.
Yeah. And then
so now
Jeffrey.
he's stuck with that for life, like me with Chucky or whatever.
And then Jeffrey. And
Yeah.
then I went to work at Martin Luther Hospital.
In Anaheim?
On the switchboard. I worked the switchboard, and then I worked in the admitting office. And I worked there for a few years. It was a fun job. I loved what I did.
Switchboard, like taking the cords and sticking them in the hole?
Yes. Oh, yeah. That was the thing. I was sitting at the switchboard when one of the phone rang, and the girl's name was Fran that called in. And she called to say that John Kennedy had been shot. President Kennedy had been shot.
Dang.
And I remember saying, Fern, her name was, and I remember saying, "Oh, Fern, that's not funny." Because I thought she was just kidding. And then the whole hospital was going into people's rooms and watching television and everything. And yeah, he was shot and killed that day.
And was that 62 or 63?
63. Mm-hmm.
Huh. 63. I remember being at Pa King's house, and he had a little weird old-timey TV in the corner to the left of the fireplace. And they were doing Kennedy's funeral and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like parade with horses and all that kind of
yeah.
stuff. And I must, if it's 63, I must have been 5 years old or whatever, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
So you were in California and I was in Tennessee, which is, I might have been there 2 weeks or I might have been there 2 years. God only knows when, but okay, so how long did you stay married?
To Jim?
Yeah.
Probably not long after that, after Kennedy's assassination. I'm just trying to...
Yeah.
Whenever I met your dad, Jim and I were already separated. We weren't divorced because nobody had money for a divorce, but we were separated.
And you had to pay a lawyer or something to get a divorce? Or?
Yeah, oh yeah. I wasn't in any hurry to get a divorce. I didn't care one way or the other.
It's cheaper to get married than it is to get divorced, isn't it?
It is
I mean, just with
indeed.
the legal part of it,
Absolutely.
not the dividing any assets or
Yeah.
anything. It seems like if it would, this is off topic, but it seems like it should be $200 or something to get married. So you really got to think about it.
Yeah.
But anyways, and so you were still in Anaheim.
Is this running now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You were still in Anaheim, and You were separated, and you met my dad in Anaheim?
Yeah. He was in a gas station, not far away. Not far away. I had something wrong with my car, and I pulled in there.
Was it a Hart or something? Something named Hart
Dale? Yeah.
gas station or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went in there, and he said he'd fix it, and he did. And I paid him a little.
And what car was that?
A 1959 Ford convertible.
1959 Ford convertible.
Yeah.
So where was the Nash? What was the deal with the Nash?
That was before then. That was when Jim and I were married, and that was our first car.
Oh,
the
as a
Nash
couple.
Metropolitan. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a dinky car, right?
It's a little dinky car. We didn't have any kids. It was just two of us
Oh.
at the time. Yeah. Yeah.
And do you remember what year that car was?
No.
No.
No idea.
Those friggin' little Nash Metropolitan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those things are cool.
Oh, it was a cute little car. It was yellow and white. Yeah. Yeah. It was a cute car.
And so this other car, I asked about the car because I thought maybe it was the Nash.
No, that was quite some time later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you and Dad got married. Or you got divorced and then you and Dad got married. Or then he got divorced, then you and Dad got married. And then y'all piled in together. Like the Brady Bunch, right? Like with his kids and your kids.
Right.
And now,
right.
And then you had our kids.
Yeah. My kids, your kids, our kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so did you move out?
We moved to Buena Park. We rented a house.
So you had me, David, Joey, Jamie, and Jeffrey.
Right. And then we moved to Buena Park, and we rented a little house, and we both worked. My friend Judy that I was talking to on the phone last night moved in and stayed with me and took care of the kids so I could work.
And this was a Judy from high school? Or?
Yeah. Yeah.
And why did you move to Buena Park?
Because we wanted to get a bigger house because we had all those 5 kids.
And how far is Buena Park away from where you were?
Oh, just the next town over, like from Murfreesboro to Smyrna.
Okay, so it wasn't moving somewhere a long ways away because you got a job offer somewhere or something like that, right?
No, then I started working at McDonnell Douglas. My sister worked there.
In Buena Park?
In Long Beach.
Oh, in Long
And
Beach.
my sister worked there, and she got me the job.
What did she do there?
I don't remember what she did, but I worked on another switchboard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How did you learn to do that? Was that on-the-job training or something? Or?
I went in to apply for a job before then, and they said it was an answering service. And they said, have you ever worked for an answering service? Oh, yeah. I never had. And she said, I said, you need to show me how this one works. What's the procedure for this answering service? And as she showed me, I learned how to do that. But it was plug a plug in and pull it back out when you're through talking. Nothing to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did all of the little holes have a label of where they were going?
Yeah.
What it connected to? Or?
Yeah, sure did. They would light up, and then you'd know how to answer it. King's Automotive Repair or something.
Oh, so an answering service was the same sort of thing, and they all rang into the one thing, and you pretended you were the one, whoever you were answering for?
No. You said answering service.
Oh.
You told them you were an answering service. Yeah.
Oh. At, what'd you say? McDonnell Douglas?
McDonnell Douglas.
McDonnell Douglas.
Yeah.
So they had McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis, too.
Did they?
Yeah.
They had the first. We walked out of the office and stood on the line when the first DC-10 took off that they just finished building. And they were doing, what else were they doing?
Man, that was a popular aircraft.
Yeah, they did a mock-up of something else, but we didn't get it. Lockheed got it instead.
Oh, yeah. Some government plane? Or?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when did your dad have a pilot's license? Was it when you were little?
He had one when I was a kid. I went to when I was a senior in high school. My parents wanted me out of town because I had boyfriends they didn't like. That was a junior. Sorry,
You
junior.
mean permanently out of town?
They sent me to a Catholic boarding school in Oceanside, California.
From when you were where? What? How old?
I was a junior in high school.
Oh, so this is after everybody moved out there to
Yeah.
a Catholic boarding school.
The Academy of the Little Flower in Oceanside, California. Yeah.
Oh, girls only. Oh, let me pause this. Okay, so you were talking about before the call. You were talking about you witnessed the first DC-10 roll off the line.
Sure did.
And how do you know? You have any idea how long it took them to make that? I mean,
I don't
everybody
know.
was pretty happy to be able to get out
Yeah,
there.
I don't know. I have no idea. I was a switchboard operator. I didn't know much about what they were doing. I just knew that it was ready to go now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you know? You had said before I restarted this, you said that you were doing the switchboard, but you were in the actual room with a whole crap ton of people.
Yeah.
Do you know what those people was that like on the floor, or was that like an engine?
They were all different things. I couldn't tell you. A lot of them were at their desks. May not have been as
So
many as
maybe
it seemed.
engineering and
Maybe,
stuff like
yeah.
that, or whatever. As opposed to like on the factory floor. where
Right.
they-
I wasn't in the factory at all.
And so, what'd you do after that job?
I was pregnant with Sandy, and I didn't want to work anymore. And your dad wanted to go to Tennessee
Because he was
because
homesick
it
or
was
something?
time to move.
Oh.
He moved around a
He had
lot.
the
It was
itch.
time to move.
Okay.
And we loaded kids up and packed up the car, and we loaded all you kids. And I was pregnant with number 6,
Yeah.
and we moved to Tennessee.
And where'd you go?
We lived with Ma King and rented a trailer and had a trailer set up, and we lived in this trailer while Chuck and Pa King and Uncle Richard and they built my house.
Which is right next door to Pa King's house.
Yes. I lived in that house a couple of months maybe, and Bob Elliott came to Tennessee and told Chuck, I'm going to New Jersey and I want you to come work for me. So we loaded up and we went to New Jersey and sold the house and then whatever we had there to Uncle Richard, Aunt Wanda. And we
So,
moved.
was Dad working somewhere when he was building that house?
He
or-
was, and I couldn't tell you where.
No.
I don't know. I don't know where he was working.
He worked. I know at one time he worked at the Ford dealer in Nashville. Was that during that time?
No,
No. Okay.
I don't know when. I don't
And so we went to New Jersey, Egg Harbor, New Jersey.
Egg Harbor, New Jersey. Yep.
Now you know what I remember about that
What do
was
you
that
remember?
friggin' goat ate your avocado.
Ate my
plant.
avocado. I told somebody that recently. Dadgum goat up on the hood of my car ate my avocado tree. I hated him. You
And
remember-
wasn't there some
That's funny.
fire that came like right up to the house?
Yes. Somebody decided to burn the trash.
Oh, was that us? Like me?
Yeah.
Was
no
that me?
kids. No,
Oh.
probably Chuck.
Oh,
Could have been your dad.
oh, so it was on our property.
It was on the property. We rented the house.
Okay, so
But
I always thought it was came through the woods and
No, it was on the property, and somebody, I'm sure, my husband, your dad, decided to burn the trash.
Okay.
And it came right up to the house. Nothing happened. They
Yeah.
got it out, but it was pretty scary.
And that was like a Dodge Polaris, or wasn't
I don't know.
that goat was standing on top? Do you remember what kind of car? it
I
was?
couldn't
Oh,
tell you.
Okay.
But what happened?
and we had a pony there or something.
Probably.
I'm pretty. I have pictures of me walking a pony with Joey riding on it, and it's for some reason I think it was New Jersey, but
I don't know that it was.
maybe it wasn't. Maybe
I
it was
don't know.
sometime in Tennessee
Yeah.
or something.
Well,
How did he have a goat? He must have had enough room for.
Yeah, we I don't know how he got that goat, but I was laying in bed one night and I said, Chuck, there's a baby crying. I hear a baby. He said, Yeah, it was a baby. He got up to go outside and came back in laughing and said it was a baby goat.
His baby goat?
It sounded like it was his baby goat that he brought in from somewhere. So then the thing fell through with Bob Elliott, and of course it's time to move, so we had to go back. Sandy was a couple months old.
Wait, but didn't Dad get everybody fired from there?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Okay.
He might have. I don't remember.
I think he might have. I think they were, if that's a story, he told me a story one time where some investor was dumping all kinds of money into this company and they were trying to get it up and running, and there were like 6 managers and all of them had their own individual secretary and all that kind of stuff.
That's ringing a bell.
And the guy that owned, and they all went out to lunch, but they left Dad there.
Yes.
And the owner came in by surprise and asked where everybody was and how long would it be before they got back. And Dad was like, probably a couple hours, you know. And they took all their secretaries with them. And the guy kept asking him, like, I can't afford this, and they want me to keep dumping money in. And he said, what do you think about this? And Dad said, I don't think you need all these damn managers and everything when we don't even have any production line running yet. And they damn sure don't all need an individual secretary. And the guy said, I believe you're right, or something. And like,
I do remember that now. I do remember that. I didn't when you mentioned it, but when you started explaining it, I'm saying, aha, I do remember that for sure.
Because I think he said that Bob Elliott got pissed off, and which I would too, but didn't talk to him for like 2 years or something.
Very possible. Very possible.
That wasn't the only story Dad told me about some manager asking him and him telling what he thought was the country boy truth, and then ended up people got fired and stuff like that.
That's the only one I've heard of. But there was a house there in New Jersey that somebody died and there was nobody. The children wanted all the stuff out and they're going to sell the house.
Yeah.
So we got a little trailer.
Not where you were living,
Not where we were living, but it was in the area.
Yeah.
We got a little trailer and a truck. Chuck had a truck. I had a Ford convertible.
Was it a Studebaker truck?
Yep, sure was. And we got as much furniture out of that house that we could get. And I think we paid at $200 for the whole lot. And I mean, we got some valuable, beautiful antiques. Yes. So we drove back to Tennessee, went to Puckett's grocery store that Chuck had bought somehow or another.
Yeah.
He had that, and we moved in upstairs, and downstairs we had auctions, and did pretty good, really. Sandy had her first birthday there, so she was born in Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
Moved to Tennessee, back to
moved to New Jersey.
Moved to Tennessee, New Jersey, right, and then back to Tennessee to Eagleville, to that Puckett grocery, and she had her first birthday there. Then we ran out.
Hang on a second. So anybody listening, that's the former Puckett grocery, that was the community center out on 99. 96
is for Franklin Road where Pa King lived.
99, yeah, you're right.
99.
99. It's not Puckett's that burned down in town of Eagleville.
No. Mm-mm. It's the building's still there.
Yeah, it's like a blue building or something.
A good woof and you could blow it down. It looks like it's just
and
nothing.
It used to be right on the road, and when they widened the road, they moved the road away from it a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
The road used to go right straight, like right in front of it, and then the other road is on the side of it. And when they widened that 99, they moved the road, and so it wouldn't be so windy. They moved that road out about 15 or 20 yards or something. So now that thing sits back a ways, but
it does.
The road used to be a little old tiny little road that went right past the front of it.
Yep. I know. I look at it every time I go by there and think, oh my God, we paid $12,000 for the house and an acre of land. Mm-hmm. And we lived there. The upstairs was beautiful. There was You know, all kinds of bedrooms and bathrooms, and it was a very nice place. Downstairs, we had somehow or another, we had some property that your dad sold to a cousin of his.
Some Allie or Amos or Tally?
Amos Tally, yeah. And Amos and Ruby, and they had a fish business, and we ended up trading the property for I don't know how many tanks of fish.
Yeah.
But
I think it had to be like 30, maybe 6 by 5
probably
fish
huge.
tanks
Yep.
in this giant wall of fish tanks.
Yeah, yeah. And we told all the kids to stay away from behind those fish tanks. That was, you know. Well, some kids and cousins and all the kids got back there, and we got up one morning and went downstairs, and all the fish were frozen solid. All dead.
Because they were all tropical fish.
Yeah, they were all tropical fish, and they were, well, even if they weren't tropical, they were frozen solid anyway. They were, it was cold.
Oh.
And they froze everything, yeah. So that took care of our fishing business. And then the auction kind of dwindled off when we sold everything that was any good.
So you sold most of those antiques at that auction place or whatever.
We did.
And is that armoire or whatever you call it thing from Aunt Charlotte's? Was that one of the
Yes,
antiques?
it was. Plus the kitchen table and chairs.
But Kenneth bought that kitchen table for himself originally.
Yes.
Okay. But that was from your auction from New Jersey or whatever?
Yeah, we did fine. And then all of a sudden we don't have any money left. We sold everything.
So time to haul ass again, right?
Yeah, time to load up. So Charlie King went out and bought a school bus.
Oh.
And he doctored that up, made a little playpen for Joey so that he couldn't crawl around, and we patted that down and drove that school bus.
Is this the one with the naked
baby doll in the
baby
window?
doll in the window, and everybody would honk and
a
laugh
couch
and
on
point?
the roof. And a couch on the roof.
A couch on the roof.
Yep, I wanted that couch. Uncle Bob didn't want it anymore. And I wanted it. It was a Duncan Fife couch.
I do not remember having a couch.
Oh, yeah.
I remember having a couch inside the...
Yeah, we did both. We had both. So we drove all the way to California.
And now, is this the trip where the engine blew up and Dad pulled
Fixing it
and
in the snow.
took the oil pan and took some pistons and shoved them up into the thing? And
I couldn't tell you what he did, but I can tell you that it was cold and snowing, and the kids and I were all in the bus shivering and cold, and he's out there fixing the vehicle.
Okay, I remember this where
Yeah.
he took and he put into a gas station where the guy had like some tools or something
I don't know.
at night.
Yeah.
I remember it was cold as a well digger's butt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he took the oil pan off, and there was a thrown rod or something, and he just pushed that piston all the way up and turned it and wired it in or something to where it would be out of the way of the crankshaft, and put it all back together, and then drove like a little slower, but put the same old raggedy oil back in.
Oh my goodness.
And drove down.
See, I wouldn't have a clue because I'm sitting in there taking care of all these kids and not worried about what he's doing. I was worried about what he was doing, that he was cold and he's working in the snow and the cold and his hands were cold, but I didn't know what he did or didn't do to the car, the vehicle. But we drove it all the way to California and stayed in a campground or a park or something.
In California?
Yeah. In
what town?
In San Fernando Valley somewhere. Don and Mary Dresser had been our neighbors in Simi Valley years before. Mm-hmm. And we stayed with them until we found a house. We found a little house and rented it. And we were there for a while, and then we ended up moving out to Simi Valley.
What do you mean San Fernando Valley? Is that... What towns are up there?
Canoga Park.
Oh, that's San Fernando Valley?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah. We just rented a house for a while.
Okay.
And then we moved.
Oh, wait. Is this the house where I begged and begged and begged and begged to stay in that barny kind of thing in the back? And then you guys finally let me stay out there with the if I cleaned it all up, and it had a concrete floor, and it was like a shop or something.
No,
And where that
was
giant tree fell on
that was in
somebody and killed them or
Springfield,
whatever?
Tennessee.
No, that was not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somewhere around Canoga Park or Van Nuys or something where the house we had was back off the street some, but it was a main street. And then back behind the house, there was like a long, like a 2 or 3 section shop thing.
I do not remember.
Old. The thing in the back was way old. And when you come in the driveway, the driveway was on the right side of the house. And there was a giant tree right off the side of the driveway.
I don't remember that at all.
Dad tried to get the person to, like, sent a letter or something trying to get him to cut that tree down because he said it was rotten and it was going to hurt one of his kids or something. And they refused to do it. And then some years later, after we moved, that tree blew down and fell on somebody's car and killed them.
Wow.
And the people were trying to sue the people whose family or somebody in their family got killed, were trying to sue the owner, and they were saying, no, it's just an act of God or whatever. And Dad got a copy of the letter that he had sent to him and gave it to the family, and then they used that as evidence that those people knew that thing was and then instead of getting their case thrown out, they actually, I don't know what happened, but they actually had to go to court.
I don't remember that at all.
But I wanted to stay out back, which was completely ridiculous because there was no, I mean,
you just wanted freedom from all those kids.
And so you guys finally let me, and I begged to do that so long, and then you guys were the only ones in your right mind, not me. And you finally let me if I cleaned the whole place out and got it all straightened up. And it wasn't a barn. It was just something really old. Like, and it had a concrete floor. It was like a 3 different three different area garage. Because there were 3 different doors. I don't know what it was, but I don't
remember that at all.
But you let me stay out there, and I think I stayed out there 2, maybe 3 nights, and I kept hearing noise, and I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit too scared to be staying out here. And I was like, okay, I'm back in. But anyways, that was somewhere around there, well,
that's the only place we lived. We went from there to Simi Valley.
Okay, and I tried looking that place up, and it's like completely wiped out, and there's like strip malls and all that kind of stuff there.
Yeah. Oh, it would.
I tried looking up our house in Springfield, too, and that whole house is not there.
Oh, that'd be gone. That was a long time ago, yeah.
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 Oh, I think there's an apartment building at the address. I think I did somehow find the address I think is the place with the big tree. And I think it's like wiped down, and there's like a whole thing of like 400 apartments or something like that there.
Yeah.
When you do Google Maps or Google Street View or whatever, you look around and it's like completely built all.
Oh, sure. That was a long time ago.
What year would that have been that you went back from the store in the bus to?
Well, Sandy had her first birthday in '67.
In Egg Harbor? In Tennessee.
In Tennessee, and then we came back here. So
here. Oh, there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
that would have been 68? 68, maybe? So.
Well, no, it wasn't. 68, we lived in Simi Valley, and that's when Chrissy was born.
Okay, so 68.
Yeah. Chrissy was born in November of 68. So we moved.
But you could have gone to that place, that old place, and then switched over as soon as you could get a house in
that is what we did. We didn't stay there very long. Yeah.
Okay, so
we moved to.
And that makes sense.
To Springfield, and we lived there. And Chrissy was.
Wait, Springfield.
Simi Valley. Okay. Sorry, you're right. Simi Valley.
And this would have been. your second time in Simi Valley, or your first time?
No, that's her first time in Simi Valley.
So
when
that would have
Chrissy
been
was
like
born.
Malcolm or something, or.
Yep.
And is that the place where Uncle Joe or whoever he was had an apartment in the garage, or
Grandpa.
Grandpa Joe?
My grandfather had it. Yeah, he had both legs cut off, amputated from diabetes, actually. And he lived there, and he lived in the garage. Your dad built him a room in the garage. He
Yeah.
lived in the house and stuff, but he had his own room out in the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who's was that? Your dad's dad or your mom's dad?
My mom's dad.
Your mom's dad.
My dad's dad died when. That's why he left his mom.
Oh,
and
yeah,
moved.
yeah.
His dad died when he was a teenager.
And what was Uncle Joe's regular name, or?
Watchins, Joseph
Oh,
Anthony
okay.
Watchins.
Okay.
Well, it was Wachinski, but he went by Watchins. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember him being cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember a TV. There was a TV. So the room in the garage was back. The wall of it was back a little ways. I can't remember how far, but from the garage door opening, it was back a little ways.
Yes.
So there was a little bit of area, and then there was an area open on the left-hand side. And then there was a TV or something right out in the garage, but outside of his
I don't remember.
area. And we were playing. We were playing, and this might have been, I don't even know. That was that house, right? Or was it the second house or something? Because I remember you guys calling us over and saying, and we were playing like kickball or some crap in the road. And you called us all over there, and I was all pissed off, like, oh, we're playing, we don't care what you're talking about, blah, 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 and you said, no, I want you to watch this because you're going to remember this. And we went over there, and it was people landing on the moon. So we stood there outside watching that little TV outside the Uncle Joe's or Grandpa Joe's thing, and watched all the stuff about the moon landing.
I have messed up on the timing because that must have been the second house we lived in. Because the first house we lived in,
one was Israela, and one was Malcolm, and one was... So Israela was the last one, right? And Malcolm was...
was there 2 or 3?
There were 3, because there was a Malcolm, and there was one that was either a street up or a street down from that, horizontal. And then Israela was over and going north and south across from the school, right?
Okay.
So I can't remember which...
I'm trying to remember because where I met Don and Mary Dresser, they lived across the street. And then we had moved and gone back to Tennessee and came back. And when we came back, they had left Simi Valley and were living in the valley, in the San Fernando Valley. And that's when we went there.
Okay. But then eventually you went back to...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then we bought a house. We went to Bakersfield. And then we came back.
From Simi Valley?
Yeah. And we came back. Bobby Kay had a...
What?
Had
Well,
a
wait a minute
battery
now.
place.
So, yeah, but that was in 1976. Going back to Israela and Bobby Kay. So you can't get all the way from 68 or 69. When was the moon landing? 69?
I think it was 60.
I think it was 69, I think. But anyways, because
Chrissy
Kennedy
was a
wanted
baby.
it done before the end of the... Okay, so she was born in 68, so it would have been in 69. So somewhere... What happened between 69 and 76? So you're telling me he didn't make at least 1 or 2 trips to Tennessee?
Oh, we had to.
So
Yeah.
let's think about this.
Yeah.
Because we have Springfield. Okay, so we took a little break there because we got a lapse in time between 69 and 76 or so. And I have these dates because of my military clearance. I had to put in the dates, and so Pam and I figured this out one time before. So whenever I process this, I'll try to get the dates and put that on the end. But we just sat here and talked and figured out that sometime between all of that, we moved around from Smyrna to Walter Hill, Tennessee, Smyrna, Tennessee, to Walter Hill, Tennessee, to Springfield, Tennessee, and then out to California. And it coming from Springfield is when we stayed with the Dressers. Pardon me. And then we apparently moved to Simi Valley after that.
Abraham was one of the streets.
Abraham was one of them, yep. And Malcolm, Abraham, and Israela. And we lived in, after that we went to Bakersfield, and we lived somewhere on sort of the eastish side of Bakersfield. I have that address too. And
in the barrio. We did.
And that's the house where we lived. There was when the Sanchez's lived behind us. And I remember that vividly because John Amos, who just passed away, came, Richard Sanchez that lived, there were two houses on the same lot. Mm-hmm. And Richard Sanchez that lived back there Richard Sanchez Sr. was a mariachi player, and he was playing at some restaurant that John Amos was at, and John Amos just friggin' loved it. So he invited him over to his house, and Richard Sanchez Jr. was my friend, and so I was over there BSing with him when John Amos walked in, and John Amos was like the faux shizzle because he was on like Good Times, mm-hmm. and we were like, what the hell is happening, right? And he was just all into like seeing all the mariachi instruments and mm-hmm. in the thing, and I think
I remember that
Richard Sr. played him some more music just for him and all that stuff. And just as a side thing, there was the other older son was named Lalo, and he was smoking weed every time you turn around. And I remember one time at my dad's shop downtown in Bakersfield that Lalo had a little white car that he bought from Dad, and he was saving up money, and then he would come in and get something fixed, and then come back and get something fixed. And I was like 17 or something working as a part-time auto mechanic, and there were 2 or 3 other full-time mechanics there working, and Lalo had like a bucket seat out of his little white, I think it was a Toyota or something, his little white car, and he had smoked a joint or something, and he was sitting on that bucket seat, which was sitting on the floor of the auto shop. Boy. And somebody walked past and saw him like half passed out, and just goes, "Flower of American youth," and just kept on walking.
Really? Oh, that's funny.
But Lalo was super friendly and super fun. And their whole family was super mm-hmm. awesome. Anyways, after that we moved over. You guys bought a house, right, on mm-hmm. 5th Street. Mm-hmm. And we moved over to that. And that house it had like 2 sides, and then it was joined back together. Yeah. And I single-handedly wrecked your car and Dad's car there by driving one of them and turning out of the driveway too sharply and nicked like the back tail light of one and the front tail light of the other one. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. Not only did I hurt one car, I hurt both family cars.
And you know what else happened when we lived in that house?
No.
Your dad came home one day and decided to tell me about his son, Randy.
Oh, yeah.
And he sent for Randy, and Randy flew from Illinois, and your dad got him, and he came and stayed with us for a while.
That was there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking about the cars being out in the front, and yeah. Randy was there. I can see him standing. Yeah, sure was. And then we all moved back to California or back to Southern.
And Randy was from somewhere in Illinois, mm-hmm. like around Champaign or something. San Jose, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Randy, I saw him later too at somewhere, Tennessee or something. Didn't he come down? You guys brought him down or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was so we moved over there and we all switched schools because it was like just over the border of the school zone or something, and then from there, you guys moved to
Back to Simi Valley.
back to California and onto Israel Street.
Yep.
Israel or whatever. Yeah.
And from
Yeah, and Dad left early, and then so I had to do everything at the garage, and you had to do everything at the house. Basically, okay, I've got to go report in. I'll see you.
I've got a job.
Let
See
me
you
know how
later.
this all works out for you. Yeah. Anyways, I know
was
this
I
is about
doing?
you, but
I don't know what I was.
you were.
Where did I live?
You were on Israela.
Yeah.
So what were you doing on Israela?
I don't know.
Did you have a
I
job?
got
or-
my real estate license.
And selling, so you were selling houses in
I was, yeah. I
Simi
did
Valley?
well. And then we sold that house and moved to Orange County.
Riverside?
No, Orange County.
Oh, so why can't I remember the name of that? The richest county in the
Irvine.
Irvine, yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you move to Irvine? Oh, because he had a shop down
We
there.
rented a house in Irvine.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
Dad had an electronics assembly plant
He did.
down. Was
And we
that
used to
why
go down
y'all
there
moved down
and-
there?
No, I don't know when he did that. He did it. I don't know when he did it, but when he did it, we'd go down there and work, and weld.
At the place?
Boards.
You would go down there too?
Yeah.
Solder?
Yeah, solder, not weld.
Okay, so you guys were in Irvine, and you got your real estate license. So that's the first time you got a real estate license?
I got my real estate license in Simi Valley, and was selling real estate in Simi Valley, and then we moved to Irvine, and I continued selling real estate in Irvine.
Okay, so like the licenses for the whole state or something?
Down in California, yeah.
Okay. And then, and Irvine was big money houses or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because Orange County's the richest county, right, in California?
I don't know that. No, probably LA County is.
Oh, really?
I don't know. No, I did well, but I mean, I'd sell $25,000 homes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and from
One time I closed a couple of escrows in the same week, and I got a paycheck altogether of close to $10,000.
Nice.
Yeah. That's nothing now.
Yeah.
That's like nothing.
Yeah. So, didn't you have like a Mercedes convertible or something?
No,
Or?
I had a Cadillac, but it
Cadillac?
wasn't a convertible. Oh no, Bobby, no, what's his name? Not Bobby K. I don't remember his name. The guy that I worked for at the real estate office in Irvine. He had a Mercedes convertible that he let me drive.
Okay, because I thought
Red,
you gave me a
little
ride
red
one
car.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a little.
Yep. I hated driving it. I was scared to death every minute somebody was going to hit me or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so from Irvine, did you guys go from Irvine to Riverside?
Spring Valley Lake, Victorville.
Victorville.
Yep. Yep.
Did you move to
We
Riverside?
moved. No, we moved to. No.
Were you never at Riverside? Oh, Victorville.
Victorville.
Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking.
Victorville. Yeah. We lived out there. We lived on the lake.
Yeah, with
My
like
ba-
little man-made or
Yes,
channels
it was.
or something,
Yes,
right?
It was.
Spring Valley
Yeah.
Lake.
And when they started getting a lot of boats going around in there, it was just swirling around. It was, yeah.
Yeah, I came to see you there
Yeah.
because we moved.
You
Judy
came.
and I moved, and we brought our U-Haul up to see you guys there before we left California.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a nice friggin' house.
Oh, that was a lovely house. I loved that house. Yeah.
With the looking out all and a lot of windows with that
Yes.
water view everywhere you turn.
Everywhere you look. Yep. Yep. It was a great house.
And
So
what
we
were you
didn't-
doing up there? Were you selling real estate up there? Like, why were you in that out kind of far?
I don't
out
know.
to
Your
be-
dad went. Your dad went there for some reason. I couldn't tell you what he was doing. I don't know what he was
working
doing.
up there.
Yeah. Oh, he was working with Bob Elliott. That's why.
Oh, it was.
He was working with Bob Elliott, and yeah, and then that fell apart. So we decided to go back to Tennessee. And we,
And that's when you moved to Smyrna? No, not Smyrna. Was it Smyrna?
I don't know. Yes, it was Smyrna, McNichol Street.
Yeah.
That's where were you looking at those pictures? That's where Darren came out to stay with us, and your dad fixed him up a little tree house, and
Oh.
yeah, yep. And from Tennessee, we went back to California.
To where?
Oh,
Norco? Or?
that's where when Chappie died. We were going. We had put all our stuff in storage, and stayed at Aunt Charlotte's.
Oh, yeah.
And
Dad left and you were...
Dad left when when we got back, your dad finished putting everything in storage. I got on an airplane and flew to California because my brother had died. And when I went back home to Tennessee, your dad left and went to California to work for my dad. And I drove.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I drove a big U-Haul with Sandy and Chrissy and Jeffrey.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Is that the time when one of the kids took
We
the
left-
quarters off the table? Or
I left Chrissy or Sandy. Chrissy stayed at your house.
Oh, yeah.
With you
in
and-
Arkansas.
Yeah. And that's when we moved to Norco.
Yeah.
Lived in that little house for a while and bought the house around the corner. And then your dad pulled a couple of shady deals and I lost everything.
What do you mean lost it?
Well, he put a second on the house. He got a second on the house by a friend of his. And then he didn't pay it, so the friend foreclosed and I got kicked out. That was all set up.
Of the...
And then your dad married Alma, got Alma, and she moved in the house.
Oh. And so the first place around the corner, did that have like a big brick fireplace or a stone fireplace or something? Or because I have some pictures where we came home, Judy and I came home for Christmas or something, and
Yes, Grandma and Grandpa were there.
and there was a giant, like a big, maybe darkish color brick, mixed colors or something. I can never remember which one was.
Probably. My mother and stepdad were there. And Nancy and John and their kids were there. And I guess you
At
kids.
Christmas.
Yeah. And then we moved around the corner. We bought the house around the corner.
Oh, so you were renting that first house.
Yeah. Yep.
And why did you pick Norco?
Your dad had gone to California while I was getting ready to come to Tennessee, from Tennessee.
Oh.
And so he'd rented the house.
Okay.
And he was living there with Ricky.
Ricky?
I
My
didn't-
cousin Ricky?
Yeah, I don't know how. I'm trying to think of. I think Ricky flew out, and I was trying to get him in some care and some treatments in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But Ricky was there before you got there?
I don't remember. I don't think so. Ricky, Randy was.
Oh, he was?
Randy was there. Yeah. And
Did he stay with you guys for some
Randy?
time? Or?
Yeah.
Like a year or just a little?
No, probably not a year.
Oh.
I don't know how long. But Ricky was there, and the battle that we had with Ricky was that I didn't want him drinking.
Yeah.
And he was going to drink or else. So he decided to go back to Tennessee.
Okay. Could he play the guitar during that time?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he did. He played. He and Jeffrey and your dad played the guitars together.
And Jeffrey played bass or something, though, right? Or did
I don't know what he played, but he did well. He played. He still does good. And then we got the house and moved around the corner, and then that was just Chrissy and Chucky. No, Chrissy and Sandy, and your dad and I. No, your dad left. He never moved in with us around the corner. He moved us in there, and he moved in with Alma.
Okay. And then, so you guys got to... Well, how long were you staying there? Just separated or whatever?
Oh, we got divorced right away. He wanted to get a divorce because he wanted to marry Alma.
Okay, so... And then you stayed there until the girls graduated or something? Or?
Yeah.
And then where did you go after that? Just you? The girls didn't live with you
No,
after
they
that,
did
right?
live with me. I moved to... No, Sandy went to live with... I don't think she lived with them. She stayed with your dad for a while. With Alma and your dad, but she didn't want to be there. Sandy had Jason. She got pregnant and had Jason.
Oh. But she lived somewhere else with her...
She lived...
Jason's dad or
She
something?
lived with Steve. Yeah, she did live with Steve.
And he's the one that had that hippie van or something, right? Or
No, that was Terry.
oh,
I think that was Terry. Yeah, it was Terry. They lived there in the house where we lived. We all lived there. The kids, Steve and Terry lived in the garage. Had a room in the garage. And I was selling real estate. And I was doing okay.
yeah.
And that's when I went by the airport, and I was going somewhere on my real estate travels, and I went by the airport, and I thought, I wonder if I could still fly an airplane.
Yeah.
So I went in and I said, can I get with an instructor and see if I could fly? And I did well. And I said, that's great. And then this guy named Frank Z, something started with a Z. He had Z Air. And I made a deal with him that I'd fly with him and I'd work the office so that that would be my pay. I'd work the office and you don't pay me, just teach me to fly. Because I never got a license. I learned to fly in Tennessee, but I never got a license.
Oh.
And so this way I finished up and got my license there.
Oh, that's cool.
And then
you needed so many hours or something of
yeah,
flying.
and by that time I'm managing the flight school, and then they opened up the door between these two offices, and I worked for John also. And then I got an insurance license, and I was selling airplane insurance. I was having a ball.
And still doing real estate?
No, I quit real estate altogether and went into anything to do with the aviation is what I was interested in.
And what airport was that?
Corona.
Corona Airport?
Mm-hmm. You guys came out.
I remember being the front of that, and Chip said you had a hoopty or something.
He wasn't going to ride in that awful looking car that I had. He didn't want to ride. He ended up doing it, but he didn't like it. He was not happy riding in that car at all. It was so cute. And I ended up getting that car painted. And a guy that I got to know that had a paint shop down the other end of the airport, he did put airplane paint on it, glossy paint. He did a design on the side, wrote an N number.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it was the cutest car. And my kids, Jeffrey in particular, would try to drive my car. And somebody say, I saw your car in Long Beach last night. And I'd say, you did, huh? And I said, Jeffrey?
Because you had the only one.
I know. That's the only one in existence, yeah. Yeah. And I stayed there. Where did I live then? I guess I still lived in the apartments. And then I moved into a nicer condo type apartment. And then I was making enough. Oh, and then my dad passed away, and he left me $100,000, which I went right through it. But not. I bought an airplane.
Oh, so I knew you had an airplane.
I bought an
at some
airplane.
point, right?
Yeah, but
Which
that
was that a tail dragger?
no.
No.
And it was $10,000 was all the airplane cost. I had $100,000.
Was it at the Corona airport?
Yeah. And
But you and Dad had an airplane before, right? Was that the tail dragger?
no,
airplane?
we never. Oh, we did. Oh,
In
yeah,
Tennessee?
we did. Yeah, we did. It was a tail dragger, Taylor Craft. That was in Springfield. And one of my
That's
children.
one engine, though, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of my children, who will remain nameless, decided was going to cut the grass, and he
Set the airport on fire.
set the airport on fire. Yeah, I won't name any names.
And I did that shit intentionally.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Why?
I did not mean to burn the airport.
No, you didn't. But it burned up.
But I couldn't understand what the hell was happening with an engine. I knew you put gas in there and it would run and it was hot coming out. And I'm like, this shit has to be getting on fire or something. So I poured just the tiniest amount of gas on the edge of the mower, the little lip in the mower where the motor is in front, the push mower.
Yeah.
I poured a little bit in there and I lit it with a match and it, whoo. But I didn't know there was like a drain hole on the other side. And it drained down under there and started. And that grass was, fortunately, that grass was all cut low.
Whoa.
But it just pushed up. And then Dad and everybody or whatever his name,
Buddy Suter. No.
came running out there and they, like, with a towel
whatever they
or
could get
something
their hands on.
stomped it out.
Yeah.
And Dad asked me, like, what the hell? He was all super, they were all huffing and puffing from running out there and stomping that out. And then Dad asked me what the hell, and I told him just that thing. And he said, well, the next time you want to know something, just friggin' ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was like an science experiment to me, but it just kind of got away from me because I
didn't
didn't know it was going to leak off
Yeah.
of the friggin' mower, and I thought it was the tiniest little bit, but doesn't take very much gas.
Well, no harm, no foul. Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say I ran away, and then Dad flew
Oh,
the
that
airport
too.
all over the place
That
looking
too.
for.
I made him get an airplane.
Yeah.
He was driving all around. Here's the funny part about that. It's funny now. Was not funny then. We had the police looking for you. I called Ma King to see if you tried to hitchhike down there, like you didn't. And all the time you were right there up a tree or something. I don't know where you were.
I went all over town, but I got under the trees or whatever.
Whenever you heard an airplane, yeah. Yeah, that was quite a scare. But anyway, so your dad was running that warehouse food market.
In Springfield.
Yeah. And there was all the big deal in town about where's my son, And then they found you the next day. I think you were gone overnight.
I don't think I made it overnight.
I don't think you did either. I think
it was real dark.
Yeah.
Round about dark, I started heading back towards the house, and I was in the bushes and stuff way back, maybe 100 or 200 yards behind the house.
Probably a week or so later, the sheriff went into Warehouse Foods where your dad was working and said, "Hey, Charlie, did you ever find your son?"
Like, I forgot all about it or whatever.
Yeah, I thought, what a thing to No, never did find that doggone kid. I don't know what in the heck happened to him. I mean, I would have been walking the streets myself night and day looking for you. Yeah. I was freaking out, totally freaking out.
So,
and then Jamie did it after you did. But Jamie is the one that stayed up in the tree in the backyard and watched us looking everywhere for you.
Oh, yeah, I kind of remember
Then,
that.
when that was over, I got David and Jeffrey together, and I said, okay, let me tell you what.
Which one of these?
Neither one of these two got any big trouble because we were so grateful to find him. Try it. I will beat the shit out of you if you do it. If it comes to your mind that you think it's your turn, just be advised that you will get the crap beat out of you. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember, so the flying, we skipped back from California flying to this Tennessee flying. because of the airplane.
Right.
But how did you guys get involved with the airport in Tennessee and the guy that owned the airport? And because both of you guys were going after your license.
Your dad
your
got
pilot.
his license. I did not get my license, but we both we somewhere, if I could find my logbook, I'd show you. We both soloed the same day, one right after the other, and we had the exact same hours.
But not enough to get your license.
No, but your dad went on and got his license.
So the way it works is you have to work up through school and everything else.
You have to have a minimum.
And assisted, and then once you solo, you can, from there on, you can fly by yourself.
You can fly by yourself.
But you have to have,
If
you
you
have to
have-
accumulate so many hours after that flying by yourself
You have no.
to be able to get your
Well,
license.
kind of, yeah. You have to have so many hours. Once you get those hours and you meet all these requirements, then you just go keep flying until you're good enough to take the test and get your license. Your dad got his license, I did
Oh.
not. Just because once he got his license, we didn't worry about it. We wanted to go somewhere, we went together anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it wasn't that big a deal.
But you never crashed, and he crashed
That's true.
in Santa Ynez or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that where it was?
He took Jim. Somebody I can't think of the last name. Flew his son up to the military base that he was going. They went in a 4-place airplane. Coming back, your dad pulled a Charlie King. Oh, I got enough gas.
And ran out.
We didn't have enough gas. He did a low pass. Said, yeah, I can do that. And he came around, whichever probably left, to come around to land.
Yeah.
But he was too low and the nose wheel hit the fence and flipped him upside down. Yeah.
Okay, so by the time you got to California and did the thing, that's why. So you had already soloed. Does that apply across all the states?
Oh, yeah.
That same thing.
Yeah, your logbook is your logbook.
And so you just needed hours, flying hours or whatever.
I probably had more than enough because I could fly alone anytime I wanted to. And I just never worried about it because if I wanted to go with somebody. But then by the time we moved to California,
No, I mean in California. When you went into the place in California, you just needed hours.
I just needed to show that I could fly.
Oh,
And I probably did need some hours. Oh, I did, because I had to do it long cross country, a solo cross country, which I flew to Bakersfield and back.
oh.
I remember
Ooh.
that, yeah.
Cross country? That's not cross country.
Well, it is. It's a, you have to go a certain distance.
Oh,
It's not cross country, but it's called cross country.
yeah,
Solo cross country. You just had to fly so many miles.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're tooling along. I don't know. I was gone, so I don't know what you were doing. And so, did you meet? What's the name of that? It's Australian dude that
Gavin.
Gavin. Did you meet him there?
No. We were selling airplanes to foreigners. They were coming into this country because they were getting them real cheap and they could take it back to Australia and sell it for twice what they paid for it.
Yeah.
So this couple different couples came. Jen and Guy came over. Guy came first, and then he brought his wife over. And we got to be friends with them.
Oh.
So this couple different couples came. Jen and Guy came over. Guy came first, and then he brought his wife over, and we got to be friends with them. I mean, they'd come to our house and have dinner, and we'd do things, and they'd stay, in the air.
Being you and who?
Jan and Guy, John Cullen, that I was working for, that was
okay.
my boyfriend at the time.
Oh, okay.
And we were doing all those things, and then they went back home, and then another one was John and Jenny Ricketts, another couple that came, and they stayed
From Australia.
Yeah. We got friends with them too. So a little while later, John decided he was married. He decided to take his wife and go to visit Australia. So anyway, he went, came back, and then I wouldn't have anything to do with him because I said no. I knew he was married before, but I said, you keep telling me you're going to leave her, and that was an old big nonsense anyway. So John and Jenny told me to come over there and visit, and I still had money
To Australia?
Yeah. And I still had money left over from that $100,000 I had dwindled down to nothing. Yeah.
Burning a hole in your
Burning a hole in my pocket. I bought a car. I was making house payments, $1,100 a month house payments. That went quick.
Yeah.
But anyway, I bleep out the part about John being married. That's right.
That's no problem. I'll cut it out.
Take that out. I don't want to leave that on. My kids know,
Okay.
but I don't want that public. Yeah.
No problem.
Anyway, so I went over to Australia to visit. Jan and Guy picked me up. Guy picked me up at the airport, and I had a great visit with him. How far are you going? Backing it up or going forward?
I'm going forward.
Oh, okay.
I'll take this audio and put it into a different thing where I
Okay.
can splice in. I can't
Okay.
cut something out of the middle when it's on here.
All right. So anyway, I went over there and I stayed with Jan and Guy for a while, and then I went to John and Jenny's. And when I went to John and Jenny's, Gavin, I was introduced to Gavin.
In Australia.
Yeah. And I liked him a lot. So when I went back home, we stayed in touch for like a year, 2 years, something like that. I don't remember now how long. But we stayed in touch, and he came over.
To the U.S.?
Yeah. And we went to Las Vegas, and we had a ball, and he went back home, and he called me and said, I want you to marry me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what year was that about?
I don't even remember. We got married, but we got married here.
But when did you get married? What year did you get married?
I don't remember.
Oh. Okay.
Total blank.
In California?
Yep. Yeah. And then
And did you ever live in Australia? Didn't you
I
live
lived
there
in
a year or
Australia,
something?
yeah. Well, what happened?
What city was it in Australia?
Sydney. Well, Ryde.
Ryde?
R-Y-D-E. Ryde is where I lived, yeah. He said to come over here and marry me. That was it. So I went to Australia and lived with him.
Can you just go live in Australia without, like, some kind of visa or...
I had a visa.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I had a fiance.
You're on a fiancé visa?
No. They do have a fiancé visa.
They do?
Well, they do if you're coming here. I don't know about it there, but... And I wanted to go to work, and I couldn't get a job because I wasn't there on a... I was there on a passport and a visa, and I couldn't get a job. So...
What did Gavin do?
Gavin, drove a tow truck. Not a tow truck, the forklift truck. You know, where they go up under a thing and lift stuff and move boxes around and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he did. So...
That like a port or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, I didn't worry about what he did. He supported me, and that was all. And I lived there Actually,
So you moved because you were bored and you wanted a job and weren't allowed to get one there? Or?
yeah. My mother came over and spent a month with me. We had the greatest time. Yeah. Jenny and I took
Wait, this your mom, so
Grandma Slipper.
she was married to Clyde or
Yeah.
something. So, and they lived in Arizona or something?
Yuma.
So,
But Clyde died.
oh, and so she's,
And so she was living in. I'm pretty sure that she was living up there where Nancy is in Illinois.
oh,
And she came over.
Okay.
Yeah. But, we traveled all over.
all over all over
uh,
Sydney.
Yeah, well, all over New South Wales,
Oh,
the state. And we went all the way up north, and we went. Oh, we
the
had
north of the island or north of the area?
north of the area. We
Okay.
went. Yeah, we had a great time.
Because isn't it like 1,000 miles over to the other side or something? Or 800
Yeah, it's
miles?
as big as the U.S.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. No, we didn't go to Perth. That's the other side.
Okay.
But I really had a great time. When my mother was there, we had a good time, good visit. And then she went back home, and then
Were you always close with your mom?
no,
Oh. But by that time you were
yeah.
girl pals or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, I was a brat when I was a teenager, and I was sassy, and I didn't like my mother telling me what to do and all that
Oh,
stuff.
so you were a teenager.
I was a teenager, yeah. Nancy was the little saint, and Chappie was the only boy. That's okay. Nancy knows what I think. Yeah. But, well, after I left home, after Jim and I were married and I left home, Mother did a lot of stuff. Nancy was in the Girl Scouts, and she took her on a ship, a boat, it was a ship, but it was a sailing ship.
Yeah.
And the Girl Scouts went, and they went on this, I don't know what all they did, but she did things all the time. And another time they drove to New York and back, Nancy and Chappie and Mother, And
From
California. And
Holy crap.
I never got to do any of that. But they probably did it after I was gone, because then they didn't cost so much. I don't know. I'm not being silly there, but
well, when you're the oldest, your parents still don't have any money yet.
yeah, right. Yeah. But I didn't not get along with her. I just didn't. She wasn't like my best friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I see girls now that their mother is their very best friend. My friend Pat. Oh, her girls adore her. They don't care what she wants to do. Just come and live with us. We'll take care of you, and yeah. And my mother, she didn't do that. I didn't want to go live with my mother anyway.
Yeah. So you and Gavin decided to move to the U.S.?
We didn't get married in Australia. I came home because my visa was running out. Oh, and somebody crashed my airplane. That was the other reason.
That was still in the U.S.?
Yes. I left it with the flight school with John.
Oh.
And literally a rocket scientist, did not do the mag switch, magnetos. Mm-hmm. You turn on, and then you turn to back. It's two magnetos. You turn it up where it's on both of them, and rev it up, and it's fine. Then you turn it down where it's just on one, rev it up, and it's fine. So you do that. Well, this guy never turned it back up to 2. So he took off on one magneto, and the airplane went right into it flipped upside down. They weren't hurt. They weren't scratched, but my plane was destroyed.
Did it have insurance?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it did.
That you sold yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was covered for $20,000. I paid $10,000 for it.
Oh.
So I did all right on that.
So you went out and bought 2 more?
I wish. No, I didn't.
No, so you came back without Gavin?
Yeah. Well, he was coming pretty right away, but he did something to his hand, and he had an infected hand, and he was in the hospital for a week.
Oh.
And he came, though, after that, yeah.
And then you guys got married?
And then we got married here. Mm-hmm.
And where were you living then? In Norco?
I was living at Joan Hauser's house, Paul's mother. I was living upstairs above the garage.
Across the street from where you used to live?
No.
Huh?
No, it wasn't across the street.
Was she had a different house?
Joan Hauser?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. But didn't she live across the street from where you lived in California?
She lived on Hillside. I lived on Fifth.
Was it in Norco though? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was in Norco.
Okay.
But
I must have forgot about that. I was thinking it was right on the same street.
no, it wasn't on the same street.
Because Chrissy and I went there and looked at we went out front of the house, and when we went to see Joey, we went out in front of the old house, and then we talked to the guy that owned the house then.
Oh, really?
And then we went over and saw Joan's old house, and for some reason I was thinking it was on the. When you said the apartment thing that's up above, I could have pictured it straight away, but I thought it was on the same street.
Yeah,
so
no.
It's maybe a couple of streets over or something, or a street over, or.
Yeah, it was a couple streets over. Okay. Joan's house, you go up and turn, and it's down. Yeah, it was in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah, but she had a 3-bedroom house, but the garage they had made a bedroom upstairs at the garage, so that was my room. And then Gavin came there, and then pretty soon we moved. I mean, he just came and stayed for a little while till we got an apartment.
Yeah.
And we got an apartment, and then we got moved from that apartment
In what town?
Corona.
Oh.
Yeah.
That wasn't Norco, that was Corona?
That was Norco, you're right. Okay. But they're side
Same
by side.
difference.
Yeah. And then while we were living there, we got married. And then we moved to our own place.
Yeah.
And we lived in an apartment. And then where did we go?
And how long were you guys married?
Oh, well, I'm trying to think. We lived in an apartment. Oh, and then we lived in a mobile home park.
Yeah.
And we left that mobile home park and came to Tennessee. And he got...
To where?
Here.
To Murfreesboro?
Yeah. And...
he got sick or something?
No. He just couldn't stop drinking.
Oh.
And, I mean, I knew he drank. You know, Chrissy's the one that said, you knew he drank when you married him. I said, I know, but I didn't know he was so ugly when he was drunk.
You mean mean or?
Mean.
Oh.
Hateful. Ugly, yeah. And I just finally said, I'm done. I can't do this. And we got a divorce.
Oh, so...
And I
didn't realize, or I don't remember that I realized that you got a divorce before he passed away, so...
Right.
You got a divorce first.
Yeah.
Did he stay here, or did he go back to...
He stayed here.
Oh, good.
Yeah. He bought us a house. We lived in a house down in the other end of Murfreesboro. And I moved out. Finally, I couldn't take it.
Oh.
And I moved here. Moved into
to this specific house?
Yep.
Oh.
I've been here for 25 years. I've been here.
Dang, that's right at 2000 then, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I closed escrow on this house. New Year's Eve, 2000.
Oh, wow. And
That's
so you still had to be working then, right?
Yeah.
Where were you working?
Selling real estate. No. Where was that? Oh, I was selling insurance. I was selling car insurance. I worked
at a company somewhere?
Yeah, AAA.
Oh.
So I sold more than car insurance. I sold homeowners and renter. I mean, yeah, I sold other insurance, but I sold insurance.
Was that like working from home or going into an office?
Oh, no, I went to AAA office.
In Murfreesboro?
Yeah.
Murfreesboro,
yeah.
Oh. And so...
Or as Chuck would say, Murfreesboro.
Yeah. So you worked there until you retired?
Mm-hmm.
And when did you retire?
I was 62.
So you took early retirement.
21 years ago. Yeah.
So you worked there for 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah. It was a job.
Did they like route people to you guys, and then you worked with them? Or?
No, I answered the phone. You called for insurance. I'm the one that answered the phone.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then, like, let me help you get a policy
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah. And there was another person that worked there too, but he never did anything. I did all of it, and I got all the commissions. And then I went.
Only 2 people in the office?
No, they were. It was AAA. It was. They had other things too.
Oh.
They did.
I mean, only 2 people answering the phone and
for insurance
policies or whatever.
Yes,
okay.
yes. And then that was okay, but then a friend of mine worked for direct insurance, and I ended up going over there and being the office manager at direct insurance, right down on Murfreesboro, down the Broad Street.
And I want to ask you about I forgot earlier to ask you about the nitwit.
Oh my goodness. That was... We lived in Springfield.
Yep.
And this guy had... She had all the stuff for sale. Mm-hmm. She wanted to get out of it. And so I bought it from her.
And it was already in a storefront? Or
No. I bought the whole thing, loaded it up in the car, brought it home, rented a building downtown Springfield, and set it up in that building and started selling yarn.
But it was all kinds of stuff, right? Needles and yarn and hoops.
Absolutely.
And
yep.
everything you could think of.
You got it. And I gave...
Did you name it the Nitwit?
Yeah. And I did.
That's a pretty friggin' awesome
And
name.
I gave it... did classes, knitting classes. I taught people how to knit, yeah. Huh. And crochet. Yeah.
Did you like that?
Oh, yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
And how did you meet somebody that had a truckload of knitting crap to sell?
She had it advertised for sale. She was selling it, and she wanted out of the business.
Oh.
And so I bought it and rented a shop and moved.
So you didn't know her or anything?
I don't think I rented the shop. I think I went to the shop and it was there. So I bought the stuff and I did. I didn't, it was in the shop already in Springfield. But I named it Nitwit.
Oh.
That would only be me that would call it Nitwit.
But I remember you brought home a crap ton of stuff and had to sort all through it and all that stuff.
Sure did.
And Dad was working at some gas station or something then, or? I remember...
No, he was working at Warehouse Foods.
But I remember Dad worked in a gas station in Springfield. Was it Springfield? And there was a guy named Chip that worked there.
I don't know.
Because I always thought Chip is a friggin' cool name. I wish somebody would have named me that instead of Chucky. Because at least I could bear it all for the rest of my life, right? And that's partially why we nicknamed Chip our Chip.
Yeah,
Chip.
That's funny. That's his name.
His name is Charles William King.
Is it? But you call him Chip.
Yeah. Mm. But I think he might be going by Charles sometimes.
Really?
Well, I don't know. Because we went out to... There's a place in St. Louis called The Foundry that used to be a foundry, and now it's like a food court-ish, like a boutique food court place.
Really?
And there's a lot of tech stuff right around there. Mm-hmm. And we went there the other night with Carla and Chip and me and Judy and DJ. Oh. And so everybody was going all around looking and see what they wanted to order from different places or whatever. And when they called for Chip's food, they called Charles. So at first it didn't even register that it was his. But I don't know if he gave him the name Charles or if they just read it off his credit card or something like that. But anyways.
Well, you'd never gone by Charles, except maybe in the
military. Yeah. I always had to in the military. Well, I've gone by Chuck.
Yeah.
The whole time, but you always have to give your regular name for that.
Right.
Anything official or whatever.
But nobody ever called you Chucky.
No. Except for my family, you know.
Yeah. It's like Chappie.
Yeah.
William.
Did that irritate him getting called Chappie? Or?
He came home from school in about the 3rd grade and said, I changed my name. It's not Chappie, it's Bill.
Oh,
And I said, call yourself Fred, Bill, George, whatever. I'm calling you Chappie. And my kids call him Uncle Chappie. That's all he ever has been in this house.
So my name, with certain cousins and my former Aunt Charlotte, my nickname went from just Chucky to Chucky. Oh, I'm sorry, but that's what I learned, so that's what I'm going to call you.
That's Chappie. Same thing. Yeah. Yeah. You see that picture right there of Chappie and my dad? That picture, their birthday was the same day, November 27th. That was their mutual birthday, November 27th, 1981. Chappie died 1982, January 3rd.
That picture was on the 1 year before?
Not a month before.
A
couple
month
months.
before?
A couple months before. Yeah.
Was he 35 or?
Mm-hmm. That was his 35th birthday, and he died January 14th. 2 months later. Yep.
With 400 volt, whatever.
I don't even want to think. I don't know. Yeah, it was horrible. My dad said, don't put that... He
seriously?
couldn't stop him.
Yeah, you can't mess with that stuff. It'll
He didn't turn it off or unplug it or whatever he had to do he was trying to fix it.
Yeah. One of those giant multi-axis whatever machines. So he worked for your dad all the time, or?
Oh, they were joint. My dad was making him a partner.
Oh, he was?
Yeah. He never did become a partner, but he was going to make him he was working it up to make him a partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. His plan was to let Chap have the shop after a while when he got ready to retire. Yeah.
So can I go back? I have a couple things
yeah.
What did you like in school? Was there a subject or something that you really liked?
No, I was very social. All my friends, I'd go to school senior year. We all met at this one area in the quad in the school. We all met in one place. My friends.
Your clique.
Clique, yeah. And I made the mistake of walking in with my keys, doing this, jingling my keys.
Yeah.
Pam's got a car. So we just quit school. We ditched school.
What car was that?
The Ford Fairlane convertible.
I thought your
59.
first car was the Metropolitan.
It was, but that's when I was married. I was still in high school. I had my mother's car.
Oh, so it wasn't your car?
No, it wasn't my car.
Oh.
No, it wasn't my car.
Ford Fairlane convertible.
Yeah.
Man.
Gray and red. Yeah.
And your mom was already married to Clyde then?
Yeah.
And Clyde was like a test pilot or something?
Oh, heck yeah, he was.
Like
he
crap
had
hot, whatever.
Red hot. Yeah, I've got a newspaper article somewhere here.
Yeah,
that I should dig up.
I think you should. Or send me
I did send you
ago.
pictures of it, didn't I? Yeah.
And there was something, I said something about breaking the record, and you sent me an article where at the time they broke the remaining a flight record or something like that.
Flew out over the desert for 30-something days.
Without landing.
Without landing. Pulling gas up like this from a Jeep. Dropping things they didn't want in the airplane, and the Jeep would empty it. Yeah. That's what they did.
And that was just good, clean fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he did. That they got out of the airplane, and they were so weak their legs were wobbly they could hardly walk because
it was just two people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was when he was a test pilot already.
I don't know. No, probably not.
Was he in the military?
Mm-mm. No.
For some reason,
He
I
was
always
a
have
test
this
pilot
image
for
of
McDonnell Douglas.
test pilots of being former military pilots.
Or, he worked for Douglas Aircraft.
At the same place you did?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think so, yeah. But I still have the newspaper article, somewhere.
And what did you like? What did you like about? Did you like being in Australia?
Oh, I loved Australia. Loved it.
Is
we
everybody's pretty like straight in your face, honest there, right? Or
not really.
no?
No, everybody's drunk there.
No.
Everybody drinks. You go, your whole entertainment is, I didn't care about that so much, but you just go to the club, drink, go home, drink, yeah. Our roommate, Russell,
Crow?
no, Watson. Russell was a cop, New South Wales police officer. And we'd be at the club and he'd be drinking. And he wanted pizza. So he clocked it. It took him about 10 minutes to get home. So he'd call and order pizza and have it delivered in 15 minutes. And he'd go home to get his pizza. He never cooked anything. And they didn't carry guns. He was telling this story.
At all?
No, not on them. His gun was in the car, locked in the trunk. Excuse me, sir, I'm going to arrest you. Let me go to the back of my car. Hold on while I get my gun, yeah. Yeah, I laughed at him over that, but yeah, he was cool. He was fun. But great friends, great people. John and Jenny were my dearest friends. They both died of cancer from all this drinking and smoking and partying all the time, which was sad. I think Gavin probably had a heart attack. Well, he did have a heart attack. That's what happened when he died.
But he died here, right?
He did. Died in our house. The house that we bought together. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, the neighbors said that where he worked, his boss called, and it was right at Christmas time, and said, I need somebody to go check on him because he's never late for work, ever. And he hasn't showed up and he hasn't called for 2 days. Oh. And they went out and checked on him and found him in bed.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
And yeah. Nancy, how did she get to Illinois?
When she worked at Douglas, I told you she worked at McDonnell Douglas. Right? Yeah. She met John.
Oh, and he worked there?
And he worked there.
Was he electrical engineer?
I don't know what he did. Probably, yeah. I don't know what exact job he had.
I'm just guessing. Did he start that autometer company?
No, his dad did way years before him, yeah. But they met and got married in California. Okay. And then they moved back to Illinois.
Because his dad had the company.
Yeah, right. Okay. And he took over. He and his brother took over the company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He was good. He was a good guy, but yeah.
All righty. I don't know of any more questions. Do you have any more? Can you think of any odd facts that your descendants
You want to know if we moved? Where did we move to? I think I've covered all the places we went to live.
Yeah, because you're here now.
I'm here now, and can you believe all the moving I've done in my life? I'm 25 years in this house.
Seems weird, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Don't you ever get? I know that I totally get the itch to donate a whole bunch of crap and move somewhere else.
Yeah, but I sit here and look around and think,
there's a lot of crap to donate.
I'm not packing this shit up. No way. I'll stay right here. You guys can pack it up when I die. Call the Goodwill for it. I don't care. I'll be gone. I can't. No, I don't even want to think about having to move. No way. I've moved the last time in my life, and you got to admit that I've moved a lot of times.
Yeah. Of all the states you've lived in, what's the one you've enjoyed the most?
I've only lived in California and Tennessee.
In Illinois? And Michigan? You didn't live in Illinois.
I didn't know anything about that. Living in Michigan.
To 7th grade? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't remember a whole lot in my early
No. I lived in a little house there, and we had next door neighbors here and there, and yeah. But Michigan didn't appeal. I didn't have any real feeling for Michigan. I loved California.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back to California now if you paid me to pack and move and paid my rent and everything. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
And now,
I'm not
well,
going-
it might be emptying out a little bit now since so many people moved to here.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even get around over here anymore. There's so many people that moved in.
I hate this place. I'm so disgusted. I'm disgusted because I told you that used to be a big field, and I'd watch the deer run through there in the mornings.
Yeah.
They're just jamming it up. If they've got this much space, they build
A narrow
apartment
house.
building in it. Yeah, it's awful. There's no.
Got to
there's,
put all these California people somewhere.
and we want to put signs up at the border. Keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah.
You'll be in South Carolina any minute now. Just move on. Carry on. Yeah. Oh, it's awful. I hate it.
It's too much. The traffic, the roads are not figured out for all these.
The
all this
roads
many
are a
people.
mess. They're.
I have to come through Nashville one way or the other to get down here.
I know.
And there is no possible way. One time, recently, Junie and I decided to get off the freeway, and I went like 6 different back roads, air quotes, ways, and every one of them was just
I know.
a stop. There was no way out of Nashville
You're right.
that wasn't clogged up. And
I know.
Just,
It's horrible.
and it's not just Nashville. It's like for 30 miles out of Nashville,
Chucky,
or 20 miles out.
You
of
can't go from here to Jason's house. Now, you don't know where Jason lives, but Jason's house is right by where we went to eat lunch today. Now, that wasn't too bad. We got there at a pretty decent time.
But this is way out on the edge of town, right?
Yeah. But if you wanted to go through town, like when I go to work at Journey Home, which I do Thursday, when I go to work at Journey Home, it takes me about 20 minutes to get there, and it's 5 miles.
Oh yeah.
It's terrible. It's really bad. Is this 2 hours of my mouth going?
That's both of us. I talked a lot more than I should have since this is an interview for you, but you reminded me of some cool stuff. All right. We're going to turn this off now, all right?
Okay.